Joining us now to talk more about the big moves teams made ahead of the trade deadline is TSN reporter Ashley Docking. Ashley, first up, let's talk about KD. Durant has garnered himself a bit of a reputation in his pursuit of multiple rings. He'll now be joining his third super team in less than a decade. Do you think Durant will get what he wants in Phoenix?
I mean, they have just as good a shot as anybody, right? They have Chris Paul, they have Devin Booker, now they have Kevin Durant, they have DeAndre Ayton as well. So they're stacked. They're locked and loaded to make a championship run. And I think one of the things I like about Kevin Durant, and I think maybe some people will disagree with me, is that yes, he has gone to a bunch of different teams and he has joined a super team when he was with the Warriors, and then they tried to build one when he was in Brooklyn recently, but he still seems like he tries to tough it out until it's not working anymore. And quite frankly, that seems like a very untoxic thing to do, that he's there until it works and he has good vibes with his teammates. And then when it's not working anymore, he's kind of moved over. So yes, a super team, but as we saw in Brooklyn, you know, the recipe might be the same, but the sauce is going to taste different. Not everything is created equal.
Okay, next up, Russell Westbrook, the 9-time All-Star, has been dealt to the Utah Jazz, and talks of a buyout or another deal have been floating around. It seems like Westbrook frequently gets the short end of the stick. Why do you think that is?
Russell Westbrook. He was one of my favorite players, first and foremost. I think a lot of people forget just how electric and athletic he was. He's the NBA's all-time triple-double leader. So he's had numbers before. The problem is that as he's gotten a little bit older and his athleticism has waned, he's not changed his style. He hasn't developed an outside shot. He hasn't been as happy to dive into different roles and say, come off the bench, for example. And then additionally, he's had some animosity and been a little bit contentious with members of the media at times. So as you're trying to figure out the twilight of your career, maybe you're not rubbing people the right way. People are deciding to write about that. So I would say he's not necessarily making it easier on himself to transition with the lack of development, the lack of wanting to be a role player. But at the end of the day, I still think that he could have something to offer a team. He just needs to be on the same page with that organization and what it is that they need from him, because he's not the same player that he was before, but he can still attack and get to the rim, and he still has athleticism. He just needs to execute it in a bit of a different way.
And we can't talk about the NBA trade deadline without touching on Canada's team, the Toronto Raptors. What kind of deals have they made, and how will the moves help them moving forward?
Well, a big trend this trade deadline in the NBA was kind of reuniting with your ex, which we don't usually recommend. But in this case, a lot of teams did that, and the Raptors were no exception. They brought back Jakob Poeltl, who was their original draft pick years ago. He got sent to San Antonio a while ago when Kawhi Leonard came to Toronto. So he went with DeMar DeRozan, if people remember. It seems like a lifetime ago, but he's going to come back. He's a solid centerpiece. He's not going to add to their outside shooting, which actually should be a focus for them as they continue to move forward. But he's going to be good in the pick and roll game. He's going to defend the rim. But the problem is, and a lot of people are kind of on the same page, I think, is that what they gave up, Toronto, was a lot. Not necessarily when it came to Thad, who went back the other way to San Antonio, but they also gave up 3 draft picks, 2 second rounds, 1 first round. So now Toronto only own 1 draft pick, their first round pick, next year, and then nothing until 2025.
Thanks so much for joining us, Ashley.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.